You ready?
Yep, just making sure the live stream is good.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's remote New York City Council hearing of the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchise. At this time, will all panelists please turn on their video. To minimize disruption, please place electronic devices to vibrate or silent. If you wish to submit testimony, you may do so at landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Again, that's landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Thank you for your cooperation. We are ready to begin.
Good morning. I'm Councilmember Francisco Moya, Chair of the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. I'm joined remotely today by Councilmember Barry Grodenchik. Today, we will hold a public hearing for a rezoning proposal in Queens. But before we begin, I would like to recognize the Subcommittee Council to review the remote meeting procedures.
Thank you, Chair Moya. I am Arthur Ha, Counsel to the Subcommittee. Members of the public wishing to testify were asked to register for today's hearing. If you wish to testify and have not already registered, we ask that you please do so now by visiting the Council's website at www.council.nyc.gov to sign up. Members of the public may view a live stream broadcast of this hearing at the New York City Council website. When called to testify, individuals appearing before the subcommittee will remain muted until recognized by the chair to speak. Applicant teams will be recognized as groups and called first. Members of the public will be called and recognized as panels in groups of 4 names at a time. When the chair recognizes you, your microphone will be unmuted. Please take a moment to check your device and confirm that your microphone is on before you begin speaking, and I will remind all participants that there will be a slight delay in the unmuting process. Public testimony will be limited to 2 minutes per witness. If you have additional testimony you would like the subcommittee to consider, or if you have written testimony you would like to submit instead of appearing before the subcommittee, you may email it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Please indicate the LU number and/or project name in the subject line of your email. During the hearing, council members with questions should use the Zoom raise hand function. The raise hand button should appear at the bottom of your participant panel. Council members with questions will be announced in order as they raise their hands, and Chair Moya will then recognize members as they to speak. Witnesses are reminded to remain in the meeting until they are excused by the chair, as council members may have questions. Finally, there will be pauses over the course of this meeting for various technical reasons, and we ask that you please be patient as we work through any issues. Chair Moya will now continue with today's agenda items.
Thank you, Arthur. I now open the public hearing on LUs 689 and 690 for the 110-40 Sawtell Avenue rezoning relating to property in the Corona neighborhood in my district in Queens. The application includes a zoning map amendment to rezone an R6B zoning district to an R6 district, as well as a zoning text amendment to establish a mandatory inclusionary housing area utilizing options 1 and 2. If approved, the proposal would facilitate the development of a new 6-story plus cellar, mixed-use community facility and residential building, including 25 dwelling units, 2,300 square feet of community facility space at the ground floor, and approximately 6,900 square feet of community facility used at the cellar level. The ground floor would also include 13 accessory residential parking spaces, accessed through the entrance on Corona Avenue. And with that, I turn it over to our council.
The applicant panel for this item will include Richard Lobel, Land Use Counsel, appearing on behalf of the applicant, as well as Amanda Iannotti, also Land Use Counsel, and Nelson Tuckman and Tom Currow. Nelson Tuckman for the applicant, Tuckman Associates, and project architect Tom Currow. Panelists, if you have not already done so, please accept the unmute request in order to begin to speak.
Thank you. But before we begin, I'd just like to take this opportunity to recognize Council Members Rivera and Council Members Richards for joining us here today. Thank you. And Council, can you please administer the affirmation?
Panelists, please raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this subcommittee in an answer to all council member questions?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are in receipt of your slideshow presentation for this proposal. When you are ready to present the slideshow, please say so, and it will be displayed on the screen for you by our staff. Slides will be advanced for you when you say next. Please note that there might be a slight delay in both the initial loading and the advancing of the slides. And finally, before we begin, please make sure you state your name and affirmation once again for the record. You may begin.
Good morning, Chair Moya, members of the subcommittee, Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC, and with Amanda Iannotti of my office, we are here today for 110-40 Sawtell Avenue. Joining us, of course, are Nelson Tuckman, the applicant, as well as Tom Curro, the project architect. And good morning, Chair Moya.
Morning.
So next, please. Here's the cover page of the Sawtell Avenue rezoning. The building that can be seen actually in the background is a rendering of the Rego Park Health Center. This is an applicant-controlled site. And so when this corner lot became available, the applicant discussed with us the possibility of a minor rezoning here in order to effectuate some additional program space and to add some housing and in addition to inclusionary housing to this block. Next slide. So what are the goals of the rezoning? To summarize, the proposed actions here are a zoning map amendment to rezone Queens Block 1972, parts of lot 27 and 28 as the proposed project area from an R6 to an R6B zoning district, to an R6 zoning district from an R6 and R6B zoning district. It's an extension of an existing R6 zoning district. This is much like many of the rezonings that we've done of late, particularly in Queens, kind of a corrective rezoning, and we'll see that on the map in a little bit. There's also, of course, a text amendment to establish the proposed project area as a mandatory inclusionary housing area with which the council is very familiar. Typically, in the application, options 1 and 2 are designated. The proposed development to result from this would be a new 6-story plus cellar mixed-use community facility and residential building with a total floor area of approximately 30,848 square feet, an FAR of 3.63, and 25 dwelling units, 21 bedrooms, and 5 two-bedrooms. Formerly, there was a component of studios that was to be built on the site. After further consultation with the council member as well as the community board, the studios were eliminated and larger one-bedrooms were created. So we're really happy about that. And of course, the development site here is 110-40 Sawtell Avenue, being on the corner, you'll see on the map of Sawtell in this location. There's 13 ground floor parking spaces that are provided, which satisfy zoning, and the applicant would anticipate compliance with option 1, which would provide 6 affordable housing units. Next slide, please. So you can see here is just in the circled area is the area of the proposed rezoning. What to notice about this, you can see the existing R6B on the corner of Sawtell and Corona Avenues. And the R6B actually kind of encroaches on the upper northwest corner of the block. The remainder of that northern portion of the block is R6. So all this does is merely take that bold line currently appearing perpendicular to Flushing Meadow Park and to shift it to the west in order that the entirety of the northern part of the block is covered by R6. An easier way to look at this is through the tax map. Next slide. And so you can see here in close-up the R6, which is now going to be encompassing that small rectangular portion of the block as an R6 from an R6B. Next slide. So from here, you can see really the layout of the local area. This is the land use map. Of course, you have the 6-story existing nursing care facility midway down Corona Avenue. And then you have the potential site here, which is on the corner encompassing these 2 lots that are part of the proposed development. I would note that the opportunity for Rego Park to be able to encounter a property like this and to be able to provide office space and services within that is just so invaluable for them. As we've discussed in other areas of the application, this will free up space to, among other things, allow for a dialysis center to be potentially placed on the existing facility, thus making it easier for current patients and residents to be able to use the facilities. Next slide. Here we just have some pictures of the development site taken from certain angles. You can see the key in the lower right. And we just provided 1 page of pictures so that you can kind of see Corona Avenue and the project area, how it interacts with the surrounding area. That corner building, which is the development site, would be demolished, and the new building would go up, much like in the initial rendering. So if you can page through the next slide and some additional slides as well, you'll see we start to page through the project plans. So here you see just the basic layout of the property, the seller first floor plans and residential floor plans. The seller floor plan would include roughly 6,600 square feet of community facility. I'd ask if you could actually just start paging through a little bit more rapidly. I can just discuss some of the zoning and other calculations. So the ground floor, as discussed, has 13 parking spaces. And then the 2nd through 6th floors contain residential units varying between 1 and 2 bedrooms, 21 bedrooms and 5 2-bedrooms. Further, the ground floor maintains, in addition to parking, a residential lobby and access to the community facility cellar space. So, you know, in basic rendering here, you can see essentially what the character of the building would be. It's going to be very much look, you know, much like the existing facility and other local community facilities in and around this block. We've had conversations, as Councilmember Moya can attest to, with the council member in whose district this property lies. And we've had some very productive conversations with regards to use of the community facility space. On behalf of the entire applicant team, we'd like to thank Councilmember Moya for making himself available for many of these conversations. It's been a really iterative process. You know, Nelson can tell you that he's excited about the opportunity to really take what amounts to administrative space at the existing facility and to allow that to sit in this new building, while at the same time being able to generate some housing and affordable housing, and importantly, some community facility space with potential users whom we've already talked to as recently as yesterday. So in conclusion, the entire applicant team is available to answer questions, and you know, we value the opportunity to appear before the subcommittee.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for the presentation. Just a couple of questions, just to get again on record. Can you confirm that you plan to utilize MIH option 1?
That's correct. We do.
Okay. So you guys went in front of city planning last week. How do you respond to the concerns that were raised related to the distribution and the layouts of the units by size? And in particular, like how many square feet in the aggregate are you providing for the 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms units respectively? And then what would be the range of footage of apartments by bedroom size? So I can go through them again, those questions again if you didn't catch them, but it all deals with the sizing.
Sure. I'd start generally, and then to the extent that Amanda, Tom Curro's available. Yeah. Okay. Hi. Okay. So, I'd start generally just by saying that we modify plans, the illustrative plans, to respond to some of the commissioner's comments, including the discussion with regards to the unit sizes. So, Tom, I don't know, maybe with more particularity, you can just discuss some of the changes that were made.
Yeah, I'm just trying to calculate some floor areas for you, but basically we redesigned the apartment somewhat to achieve the 1 2-bedroom on each floor, as well as four 1-bedrooms. We're dealing with a set parameter of space, and so the apartments, the 1-bedrooms are all distributed equally in size based on the maximum footprint that we can achieve on these lots, or on this lot. So
specifically,
yeah,
can you give me the breakdown of the sizes?
The size of the apartments?
Apartment units, and then also what is the square footage of the actual bedroom size? Okay, well, a typical 1-bedroom is, just give me 1 second. Yep.
Sorry, I don't have that handy, but it'll only take a second.
Sorry, Tom.
Is 775 square feet. Okay.
700 and what was that? I'm sorry.
775 for the 1-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
Okay. The actual bedroom in that apartment is 190 square feet. Okay. The 2-bedroom apartment, which is typical on each floor, comes out to 1,282 square feet. And it has a master bedroom that is 317 square feet. Okay, so
300.
Yeah.
What was the size? I'm sorry. The master bedroom are the two.
Yeah, the master bedroom 1,200 and what did I say?
1,282 was the square footage for the 2-bedroom, right?
Sorry, the master bedroom is 328.
328. Got it. And Richard, just so I heard you correctly, it's all now just 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms that are going in there, correct? No studios.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and I think one of the great things about the application is you look at those unit sizes and they're big. We do a lot of applications with studios 1s and 2s. To be able to get up to 775 and 1,200 on average for 1s and 2 bedrooms, I think it's a well-conceived project in that regard.
Okay. Moving along, let's go and talk about the community facility. Can you confirm the layout of the community facility uses? So is there any portion of the site that is being utilized for the dialysis center? Is one for the community center or whatever organization would come in occupying the whole community facility space? Like, let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So again, to put it on the record, so the opportunity here for the applicant, and there was some flux with regards to planning for the community facility space, and that the applicant was conceivably going to use more of that for their own program. But what essentially happened was the ability of the applicant to offload some administrative and back office space to the new building frees up space in the existing facility to allow for, among other things, a dialysis center. With that, the applicant now ends up with roughly 6,600 square feet of contiguous community facility space in the cellar of this building. Again, with the council members' knowledge, the applicant is engaged in conversations with Queens Community House, and there was a discussion with regards to the quality of the space, and so there's been certain further discussions internally in the applicant team with regards to beautification of that space and actually making it, even more user-friendly for any potential applicant, but especially, in this case, for Queens Community House. So while, of course, we are in the early stages of those discussions, the applicant here is, now has this contiguous community facility space on a relatively, well-populated corner to be able to offer somebody who can then offer programs to the community.
Thank you. And also, how much of the square footage is allowed above what is proposed on the site for this project?
And so the total FAR for an R6 development site with with inclusionary housing and community facility, there's a maximum FAR of 4.8. So a 3.6 is permissible through, just as a standard residential square footage. And actually, so an R6 has 3.6 for quality housing square footage, and then a 4.8 in the maximum R6 as a non-contextual district. The cap.
Wait, again, Richard, sorry, you said the maximum for an R6 is a 4.8?
Correct, is a 4.8.
Okay. Right.
So here the applicant is proposing a 3.63. That would be in a 6-story building. So it basically satisfies their program, particularly here because there is a full cellar that can be utilized of greater than 6,000 square feet. So yeah, the current proposal is, I think it tops out at roughly 30,800 square feet. So we exceed the 3.6 FAR, which is available to quality housing residential and with inclusionary just slightly.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Last question here. So with all of the community facility coming in with the residents, how will the different groups, residents and community facility users, access parking?
Right, so I mean, Tom, I don't know if you just want to talk briefly about the functioning of the parking. I know it's accessible from the ground floor. There's 13 spaces. There's availability to enter the parking area for drop-offs. But Tom, could you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Access to the parking, well, is primarily through the residential elevator lobby, which connects the residential floors directly down to the parking. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, to the parking level. So, so there's no other access from any other part of the building to get to that parking except for the residential units and from the sidewalk if we were to walk right in through the overhead door. But otherwise, those 13 spaces are dedicated for the residential.
Okay, I think we have to talk a little bit more about that. If we're bringing in a community center, sort of the size of the parking spaces that are coming in, we'd have to have some flexibility here.
Yeah, Councilmember, we're happy to look at that as a team and talk to you more.
Great. That's it for me. But before I turn it over to any of our council members who may have questions, I just want to acknowledge that Councilmember Levin and Councilmember Landsman have also joined us here today. So with that, I now invite any of my colleagues who may have any questions for the applicant. Just please raise your hand and we will call on you. Arthur, do we have any council members?
Chair, I see no members with questions at this time.
Great. There being no further questions, the applicant panel is excused. Thank you very much for coming here and presenting here with us today. And I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot between now and our vote. So thank you all for being here. Have a great day. And
thanks, Chair. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on Sotel Avenue rezoning application?
Yes, Chair Moya, there are two public witnesses who have signed up to speak as of now. For members of the public here to testify, please note again that witness panels will be called in groups. As you hear your name being called, please stand by and prepare to speak when acknowledged by the chair. Please note, panelists, once you have completed your testimony and answered any council member questions, you will be removed as a group and may continue to view the live stream broadcast, which can be accessed from the council's website. We will now hear from the first panel, which will be Avi Gross and Theo Chino. The first speaker will be Avi Gross.
Starting time.
So before we do that, I just want to remind the members of the public that you will be given 2 minutes to speak. So please do not begin until the Sergeant at Arms has started the clock.
Starting time.
Avi, you may begin.
Good morning. Good morning, Councilmember Moya. I just have a couple of quick comments. I think the idea of affordable housing and the project as it was presented really sounds great, except that if, let's say, 50% of those units that are affordable are supposed to go to the public end up, in fact, going to family and friends of those who are conducting the lottery, I don't think that really serves the public interest. And unfortunately, this isn't some abstract allegation. This is something which there are thousands of documents proving that this is what happens in affordable housing. And specifically with this particular property, I'd like to alert you to a couple of questionable things based on the documents on Acris. Calgaris Alford appears to be the original owner of this property in 1982. There's no understanding of how he came into possession of this property. I think it's important to understand that usually there's some kind of track record where you could see how someone became the owner. Other than that, some of the signatures don't match. In other words, the same person with the same name is signing, but the signatures on the deeds are different, the handwriting, which is problematic. The name Raquel Lombila is misspelled on multiple deeds. These are all things that concern me. Also, the fact that Peter Poon, which is an architecture firm, is acquiring property and then taking out a mortgage to give it to Tuckman and Associates, which is a real estate company. That's really not the way it works. It's usually the other way around. The real estate developer is the one buying the property, and then it hires the architecture firm.
Time expired.
So thank you, Avi.
These are all concerns I have.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for raising these concerns.
Will you look into this?
We will do that. Thank you.
Do you promise?
Avi, I live 4 blocks away. I promise you, I will look into it. All right. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Theo Chino.
Starting time.
Hello, Councilman Moya. I'm calling in regard of the inclusionary zoning portion of it. The problem is inclusionary zone has been used by, like Avi said just before, to give housing to people who really do not deserve it. And so basically we need to have an investigation going with HPD to look at how HPD is doing the lottery, how HPD is organizing things, because we have found, and it is not the job of the regular citizen to go and do the job of the FBI, the NYPD, the Justice Department, and to do all that. That's not what the tenant association is about. It is your job to call on the investigative power to help us say there is something going wrong. Right now, we're doing all of that. And we're also putting our life at risk because we don't know what we could find when we uncover things. So I am against, right now, I am going to look at every Leo project and be against it as long as there is the word inclusory zoning, because that is to give upper middle class, kind of a cash rich, low middle class, upper middle class person access to housing that they shouldn't be having. It is meant for low income, people who have problems, and that is why I am against the project. It is not my job to do that, but I'm doing it because I am affected by the malfeasance of HPD, like many thousands of residents here, and we're going to start to get together in a tenant association, in a groupment of tenant association to do basically the job of the council to ask for the investigation. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you will ask for an investigation because I'm not hearing anything for the last months and a half. We've been testifying like this going over and over and over. It's really mind-boggling. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you for your testimony today. Thank you again. If there are any council members that have any questions for this panel, please indicate by using the raised hand button. Arthur, do we have any council members who wish to ask any questions?
No, Chair Moya, there are no council member questions for the panel at this time.
Great. There being no more questions for this panel, the witness panel is now excused. Council, do we have another panel coming up?
If there are any other members of the public who wish to testify on LU numbers 689 and 690 for the 11040 Saltel Avenue rezoning proposal, please press the raise hand button now. Chair, the meeting will stand at ease briefly while we check for members of the public. Chair, there are no additional members of the public who wish to testify on this item.
Thank you. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify on LU numbers 689 and 690 for the Saltel Avenue rezoning, the public hearing is now closed. That concludes today's business. And I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, the subcommittee council, and of course, the great land use staff, our council. Arthur, thank you very much for being a great co-pilot on this one, again, as always. And to the Sergeant at Arms, thank you both for all the great work that you're doing today. This meeting is hereby adjourned.